Hello and welcome to Movie RX, where I prescribe entertainment one movie at a time. I am your host, Dr. Benjamin, and today we have a returning guest for a second run. We've got Terry. Welcome, Terry.
Hi, guys. Glad to be here.
I like how you kind of puked that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. Been brushing it up. My last one, I had to step up the game a little bit there. Yep.
Yeah, get it a little bit fresh.
Yeah, that, and it's better recording time. We're getting this a little bit earlier in the day, so you're getting like high energy, Terry.
Oh, yeah, before you need to get a couple of energy drinks and all that.
Already pre-gamed it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
200 milligrams of caffeine already. We're doing this.
I've had one rock star and one squirt today, so I should be good to go. The movie that we're doing today, I know that both of us had talked a little bit about why this movie had kind of attached to us a little bit. Like, I think it's just kind of a thing that all nerds go through.
Yeah. Everybody has a weeb stage.
Yeah, an obsession with Japanese everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I really think this is like very, very like normal for American, millennials. Everybody had that Japanese culture thing. I mean, either it was Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, something pulled you into Japanese culture, and you just stayed there for about 2 to 7 years, depending on who you were.
Right, and some people never got out of it.
Yeah, some people never got out of it. Yeah.
I mean, my bedroom is done kind of in traditional Japanese. So
I mean, have you ever worn a kimono?
No, that I've never done.
They're amazing. They're the best. Yeah, way better than any robe in Western culture.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. But yeah, the whole like Japanese obsession thing that was kind of when this kind of came out for me. But aside from that, it also had some lasting impressions. And so like basically today we're talking about a 2003 movie called The Last Samurai. Yeah. So yeah, basic movie info. As I said, it was released in 2003. It was directed by Edward Zwick, which, I mean, he does good movies, a few of them. Stars Tom Cruise, Ken Watanabe, Billy Connolly, which sometimes I really have a hard time keeping myself from saying Billy Cannoli.
Yeah, I was reading the IMDb page and I almost did that too.
Yeah, I can't stop myself from doing it.
I hope he has a good sense of humor.
Yeah, I hope so. He's you saw him in Boondock Saints. He's a dangerous man. Mm-hmm. Now, the IMDb description for this movie, in 19th century Japan, Nathan Algren, a U.S. Army captain, is hired by the Japanese emperor to train his army in the modern warfare techniques. Captain Algren finds himself trapped in a struggle between two eras and two worlds. I feel like that's fair. I think that they could have expanded on the trapped part, that he's not just trapped between two eras, but like that he's also captured.
Well, there's that, but I mean, honestly, I think that is a perfect like 2-sentence. That's the elevator pitch for the movie. That is a really good description of it.
Yeah, so suck it, Jamie. Let's see here. Initial movie impression.
That's Ben. So, I'm not saying that, Jamie. You can still play Fortnite.
So, initial movie impressions, and in this part, I like to kind of do things technically. Mm-hmm. For me, cinematography was great. I mean, it was. It kind of gave me a view of Japan as I'd never really seen it before. Most of the time when you see Japan in movies and stuff like that, it's all, inside the cities and whatever. And in anime, it's animated, so you don't really know whether it's inspired by something or, whether they based it off of a real place or whatever. But it really shows Japan in a different way. The mountains, the countryside, and the hot springs and all of that. I mean, it kind of makes it a different sort of place.
Oh, definitely. One thing that really got me with the cinematography on this is just how they do the battle scenes is just really well done for any medieval movie or any movie that shows like medieval style combat. To have that many people on in frame at a single time is a really big nightmare. They did it brilliantly.
Right.
Every battle looks so good, like you almost forget you're watching the movie. And that's really the sign for me is like when I forget that I'm actually like watching this.
Right. A lot of that is because of another movie. It's a Ridley Scott movie. I'm pretty sure you've probably heard of it, called Gladiator.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you not entertained?
Yeah, Gladiator revolutionized on-screen warfare. Like that medieval and old style warfare.
Mm-hmm.
The Gladiator movie, if it really is the cutoff point, because if you watch anything before that, there is something that is very uncomfortable about it. Like it just seems like it's derivative and not what you think it should be. But that chaos that was created in Gladiator, when Ridley Scott made that first fight with the Germanics, and it was just
the barbarians or whatever.
It changed everything, and after that point, that is how warfare is done.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I mean, it's really cool how they did that, but that movie and this movie kind of connect in a way.
Whereas,
not only because of that, the other thing that kind of caught my attention about this movie was the music.
Oh, yeah.
The music for both of these movies was done by Hans Zimmer, which, wow. So a lot of people will tell you that John Williams is the best music in Hollywood. And, if you're arguing
Harry
that
Potter?
point, you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Harry Potter, enough said.
Well, I mean, you name a great movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's uncanny how most of the time that you think of one of the greatest movies of all time, in various different genres, a lot of the time you will find that John Williams did the music for it. So it's so uncanny how coincidental that is, that it could almost be argued that John Williams is what makes a movie great.
Yeah. That was one thing I remember in when I was going to college, was that we watched the intro to the 1986 Top Gun, the original Top Gun. And we watched it once with, just that opening scene where it's just the aircraft carrier and people are walking around doing their jobs on the aircraft carrier. But we watched that scene. It's got the Highway to the Danger Zone, music, and it's just kicking up, and you just get so amped up into that. It's so well done with all of, like the montage shots and everything.
Right.
But then you watch that exact same scene, that same montage without any music, and it's completely flat. It has no impact whatsoever. Like, it just looks like people on a Navy boat doing their Navy jobs,
Right.
Which,
I mean, that it does show you how important music is.
Oh, yeah, the music. After I saw that, like, I've never been able to watch movies the same way. You're so
without
much more aware.
noticing the music and how it might be affecting you. Yeah.
Yeah.
But with all of that in mind about, John Williams writing so many scores for so many movies that are so big, how is there room for any other great people to make music? Well, Hans Zimmer is one of those people. And when you look at what he has, as far as, his credits go, for movies and things like that. I mean, we're talking Gladiator, Last Samurai, Dune. I mean, there's you can't even, Dune, I think, is probably one of the most incredible movie soundtracks. The new Dune.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Not to say that Toto did a bad job in the 80s movie, but I think really the best way to differentiate between John Williams and Hans Zimmer is that John Williams writes the scores of our lives.
Okay. What do you mean by that?
Hans Zimmer writes the scores of our souls.
Oh, yeah. When you finish that, yeah, I totally I can understand what you're trying to say there. Is like, yeah, Williams, he really makes it more feel like it's part of the everyday life, but then Zimmer can just really touch you, like really get inside you. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, there's nothing to stop you from remembering anything that John Williams writes, but but Hans Zimmer can bring you to tears if you let him.
Absolutely.
You know, I don't know, it's crazy. But anyway, I mean, now that I don't even know how many minutes we've spent on movies or on movie music, but we're gonna move on now. What's your general feeling on the movie, just kind of based on stuff?
So, one thing that always gets brought up with this movie is like a lot of people always seem to say like, okay, so let me preface this. I never saw Dances with Wolves before this movie. So when I was introduced to this movie, it was explained to me as, oh, it's Dances with Wolves in Japan. And so but I feel like that was always a misleading setup for this, but it really did. I like that story of this guy, you know, goes and falls in love with this foreign culture, kind of against his will, but he sees himself in it, and they see that he's more in line with them than his own Western ideals.
Right.
There's a lot of that. I mean, I feel like they see the fighter in him, the samurai spirit is within him, but
right,
he's just not ingrained in their culture to you know, live that style.
And I think a technical thing that a lot of people assume is, people are like, oh, who's the last samurai? Tom Cruise? You know, oh, no, it's not Tom Cruise. The last samurai is Katsumoto.
Yeah.
Well, it's neither.
Oh.
Last Samurai. It is, they are all the last samurai. Mm-hmm. Because that's also the plural form of the word. So, yeah. It's not referring to any one person or anything as who the last samurai is.
I never thought of that before, but you're absolutely right. That maybe that's yet another thing. They almost they compare and contrast Western and Eastern civilization so much, and they even do it in the title, like you just said there. I never actually thought of that before.
Yeah, but
yeah, the Western way of thinking is the singular person, you know, the individual.
Right.
But yeah, the samurai is also the people, the samurai. You know,
yep.
It's a great point.
Now, in this movie, there were actually 3 characters that I had down, and one of them I don't even know that I want to spend any time on. I think I'm just going to cut it down to the 2. The first one being Algren.
Absolutely. I mean, he's the main character.
Yeah, Algren is a really awesome character because
he's a character that you're not supposed to like.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of an everyman, but he's also a broken kind of bad guy, you know?
He's the villain, and he's the good guy, and he's lost.
Yeah, you definitely get that. He's broken within himself. He's carrying around a lot of guilt for what he did in the American Indian Wars.
Yeah, he's carrying around a lot of guilt and a lot of booze.
Yeah. Well, that's his coping mechanism. He's just drugging himself.
He's been keeping himself in an alcoholic haze for we don't even know how long.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
presumably years.
When we meet him, he is sloshed and getting ready to do a performance for Winchester.
Yeah, and damn near shoots people. Like, waves a gun right in front of everyone.
Yeah,
like
loads a gun on stage. Like, I don't know how the promoter, you know, the Winchester rep, I don't know how he didn't climb up on the stage and just be like, nope. Like,
yeah. I think he was he fires him instantly. He fires him before he even brings him out there, which, like, I never understood that too. It's like, oh, come on now, this is your last before. Why would you say that?
Last performance? Like, come on.
He's got a gun too. You handed him a loaded gun and then fired him. Like, that's just a mistake.
Yeah, stupid people.
Yeah, right.
That guy plays a jerk in most movies that he's into.
Oh, and he does a great job at playing a jerk.
Yeah, he does.
Was he a general? Was he an American general? But he was obviously in command of Tom Cruise, you know, of Algren.
Oh, you're talking about Bagley.
Oh yeah, Bagley. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Colonel Bagley.
Who were you just talking
about? I was talking about the Winchester rep.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he plays a jerk in everything he's in.
I kind of remember him, but I mean, he's only in that one scene, and then you never see him again.
He was in Die Hard. He was Thornburg in Die Hard. Anyway, so Algren is an alcoholic. He's also a soldier.
Yep.
And he's a soldier who has done some
he's haunted by his past.
some things that he doesn't care for, that he regrets. His relationship with his commanding officer is not positive, Colonel Bagley. And we do get that in that first little interaction that they have.
One of my favorite lines of the whole movie is right there.
Yeah, you want me to kill Japos? I'll kill Japos. I'm not asking you to kill anybody. You want me to kill the enemies of Japos? I'll kill enemies of Japos. Or Rebs or Sioux or Cheyenne or whatever.
For
$500 a month, I'll kill anybody you want.
Right.
But just know this, I would happily kill you for free.
For free. Yeah.
And it's like,
oh man. And he delivers that, like looking him in the soles of his eyes with ice in his veins. And he means every syllable of it.
And it's cold. It is just so cold. I don't know that anybody ever really gives Tom Cruise enough credit for some of those little things that he does. But that absolute chilling delivery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, was perfect.
Yeah. The only thing they do a good job of setting up that those two know each other, and that Tom Cruise obviously has tremendous resentment and hatred towards that guy, towards Bagley. But I almost feel like they drop that line because it is so powerful. Like I almost wish they would have dropped that when he was in Japan and working, training the Emperor's men. I almost feel like they delivered it just a little out of time, but it regardless, it's a great scene, and it really does set up who those two people are and that they don't get along.
Right. And even just the interaction in that part is enough for you to really hate the guy.
Oh yeah.
Like you're supposed to. Because all the way through the movie, the whole time you hate Colonel Bagley and you know that he's the bad guy and you know that you hate him and you have every reason to. And it only gets thicker and thicker and thicker as the movie goes before you finally start finding out that he's the one who gave the command to kill innocent women and children.
Yeah. In Retribution too, it was the that scene where he you see it in a flashback of Algren when he's drying out and burning out. He's
right.
Alcohol withdrawal. I've never had to go through anything like that, but the withdrawal scenes in this movie are very visceral as well. Like they show some pretty painful moments, and it looks real. Like I don't know, but that looks horrible, and they did a good job of showing what it's like. So,
and then the next one we got is I'm skipping over Bagley. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on him, but Katsumoto. Katsumoto to me was he's kind of that quintessential. It's necessary in any kind of a Japanese story about samurai, and that is the man that is wise and deadly all at the same time.
Yeah.
In any manga or anime or anything about samurai, you have to have the wise, skilled samurai. And this guy is both.
And he's disciplined, and he's kind of humble and very grounded. He knows exactly who he is and what he is.
There's a really interesting dynamic between the two because Algren and Katsumoto, they're both warriors, and they both know that they're both warriors.
Right.
But Katsumoto can see in Algren those reservations that he has about what he has done as a soldier. Now, Katsumoto mentions it as that these are feelings that soldiers have when they regret things that they have done, and not to say that it's wrong for him to regret doing the things that he did, but I think as Katsumoto, from his standpoint, it's not so much regretting what you've done as much as, that you're doing the job that you are meant to do.
Well, and that you have purpose. That's such a big thing for Katsumoto, is that he has to have a purpose in this world.
Right.
And it's without purpose, what are you doing?
Right.
And he knew what his purpose was. He had that, and then it's like it's being taken away from him.
But he still accepts the things that he does as a warrior.
Yeah. And
it's something that kind of harkens back a little bit to the last episode that I had with Jamie about A Few Good Men, when we talked about, your duty, following orders and doing what's right kind of thing. Katsumoto, to him, doing what's right is following orders.
Well, yeah. And like he says, is if the Emperor asks for my life, he already has it.
Right.
It's not mine. It's his. If he
It
asks
belongs
for it,
to the emperor.
yeah, it belongs to him.
Algren, being a Western soldier, that's not his life. That's not how he lives.
Right.
The difference between a soldier and a samurai is that being a warrior and Bushido is their life. Whereas in Western culture, it's a job.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that is one thing that does bug me with this movie, though, is that he basically goes from being a Western cowboy he goes from being a cowboy to being a samurai in the course of a winter. And it's
Right.
like they show, it's like the samurai, because they take him to the village up in the mountains so he can't escape, right? And he's
Right.
their prisoner. But before long, it's obvious that he feels very at home there. He's a prisoner, but they start to accept him too.
The way that they hold prisoners is so
Mhm.
different from what he's used to.
Right? He basically just has that chaperone.
Yeah, they let him loose and they send Bob with him.
Yeah, I
You
like
know?
Bob. Yeah, he's a good character.
I knew a Bob once. Guy was ugly as a mule.
You a ladies' man, Bob?
You a ladies' man, Bob? I know why you're angry. You're angry because they make you wear a dress.
Yeah.
Some of those lines in the beginning, they were great.
Yeah, it shows the Western side too. It's more of that comparing and contrasting, because at the beginning he sees that as a dress, but before long he sees that as a man's wardrobe. It's like he just becomes more acclimated into
Almost
that
like
culture.
a costume, though. Like when
Yeah.
he puts it on and he starts trying to do the martial arts in the living
yeah.
room, and
Yeah.
and the kid comes around and sees him, and he's like, "Oh God, nothing to see here."
Right.
Like
I love that scene, because that's exactly what I would do too.
I think everybody could relate to it. I
mhm.
think that's probably why it was so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it just, with him becoming a samurai over the course of a winter, there's some parts about that I could also, make an argument for. And the first one is that he's already a warrior.
Yeah.
He's
that's
already
true.
a fighter. And he's a captain, so he already carries a sword.
Right. I was going to point out that, during this time, it would have been very accurate, because officers were trained to fight with swords, especially from horseback.
Right. That wouldn't be terribly far out of the realm of possibility. Well, I mean, his Western style was beating the child that was using, the Eastern style. Yeah. I mean, it was kind of picking on a little kid or whatever.
Oh, right. When he picks up the boken, and he sees the two kids training with wooden sticks, and yeah. That was a good scene.
He and Hegan start,
Oh, I thought that was Bob that comes over, but no, you're right. It was.
Oh
Bob.
no, Ujio was the one who came and beat the crap out of him.
Oh, right.
Which, for anybody who hasn't seen this movie, Ujio is Hiroyuki Sanada. He's the guy that everybody likes from that new Shogun TV show.
Oh, I need to watch that. I've been told by numerous people I need to watch that.
I want to watch it too, but I also want to wait until there's more of it.
Yeah, I get that. I'm kind of a binge watcher like that.
Right. I mean, with him being trained to use a sword and then trying to learn how to use a different style of sword. I mean, it's not too far out of the realm that he would learn how to fight effectively with a sword.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
But I think where he would struggle in learning to be a samurai, that takes a samurai a lifetime to do, is the culture that's involved with it, the lifestyle, the philosophy, and Bushido. I mean, to put it simply, he never claimed to know all of Bushido, but he was becoming knowledgeable. And the samurai did accept him as a samurai because they saw that what was needed to be a samurai, they saw that within Algren.
Yeah, definitely.
And accepted him as a samurai.
It's kind of strange because, the first time that Katsumoto, sees Algren, he's kind of like having this like flashback moment. He's been haunted by this reoccurring dream of this tiger, and he sees Algren is killing. He takes out like 3 guys. It's a great scene.
Yeah.
I mean, in the last one, I was like, oh man, I really remember watching this. And I was like, oh yeah, and this is how he dies. And where is this movie gonna go after Tom Cruise dies? But no,
Right.
that scene where the samurai's standing right over him, about to drop the blade, and he gets him with the fucking stick right under the jaw, and
Yep.
wow.
Yep.
And Katsumoto watches it, and it's the whole scene with he's just lashing out. He's overwhelmed. He knows he's fighting a losing battle there, and he's still fighting, and he's fighting with everything he has. And Katsumoto recognizes that, and it's so. It says so much without saying anything at all, because they tell you everything through the film media there. It's all being visual.
Right. That's kind of where you see a little bit of the Western influence, where you see how Algren is the Western person because he is doing everything he can to survive.
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, right around that scene, you see the Eastern influence from General Hasegawa.
Oh yeah.
Who was defeated.
Yeah. Yeah, they're carting Tom Cruise away, and he's all tied up in ropes and whatnot, and he sees the Japanese would have been like a general or
General Hasegawa.
Mm-hmm. And he was captured as well by Katsumoto's forces, but Japanese culture, and here comes the seppuku part. But yeah, I mean, and they don't really show. There's a very tasteful tree that just shows up right at the
conveniently
right
in the right spot.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very important part of that culture as well, and they bring it back up later on when Tom Cruise tries to give a knock to Katsumoto, and is like, oh, you're such an honorable person that you'll chop the head off of a surrendering man, and Katsumoto just fires right back with, I'll let you, because you've got that line memorized better than I do.
He's like, General Hasegawa was shamed in defeat.
Mm-hmm.
I was honored to cut off his head.
And as you find out, that was his way of safeguarding that guy's honor. Is more important to them than their lives, and that's it's very hard for Tom Cruise's Algren to understand that, because he doesn't believe in honor. He doesn't have any concept of honor really, because he's had to do so many horrible things, gunning down innocent men, women, and children.
Right. That battle where he gets taken and all of that. The beginning of that battle is one of my favorite lines in all of movie history.
Oh?
Yeah, it's when Tom Cruise is riding back and forth on his horse, giving commands and everything, and Zeb Gant is with him, and he's like, Commander Gant, did you hear my order? Yes, I did indeed, sir. Good, then you will obey it.
Yeah.
No disrespect intended, sir, but shove it up your ass.
Yeah, I love that. Oh man,
that's great.
Yeah, that's the guy that you're talking about from Boondock Saints. Like, yeah, that guy. I like that guy in every movie he's in.
But yeah, so I mean, after that battle, he gets taken, and he gets taken up into the mountains, and he's forced to get clean of the alcohol, and that's yeah.
They think like giving him sake was gonna kill him, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let him have it. Yeah, not our fault if he just dies." Because I mean, he's living in the house of that scene I was just talking about where he puts the pike right through the gap in the guy's armor, right through his jaw, basically, and kills him. He goes and ends up being like let live in that guy's house with his wife and children, and
right.
Man, that is a weird thing to think about too. But he figures it out quite early too, because he sees that suit of armor again. He just remembered. It's like, wait a minute. Well, I think he does actually. They spell it out completely to you as well. Katsumoto says, "Yeah, this is his wife. His widow.
That soldier was my brother-in-law.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Hirotaro.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the woman who takes care of you is Hirotaro's wife, my sister." And it's like, I killed her husband? And even he can't believe it. Like, yeah, what the hell, man? But, and as far as that storyline goes, I don't know. I don't really want to follow that one.
Yeah, I know, but it's still interesting. It gives you more of that cultural depth, and you see that
between,
the Western and the Eastern ways of thinking, and yeah.
Well, and he starts to observe a lot of those differences when he's free to go and after he's gotten clean.
Mm-hmm.
after he's been forced to rehabilitate, I guess. He gets out, he finally gets out and starts to observe the culture.
Yeah.
And he learns to respect it because, I mean, it's so different, but at the same time, it still makes sense to him.
Well, I think I heard a quote later on in life that I think really goes to this movie well is the Japanese are people like anyone else, just more so. And
Right.
yeah, what they were trying to mean by that is more like the Japanese, okay, so as an American, some of us have a garden in our backyard to grow tomatoes or whatever. The Japanese will do that as well. The difference is the Japanese garden is immaculately taken care of. Every single plant is perfectly taken care of and immaculate, perfect. Everything is perfected in their lives.
Right.
Whereas the Western way is like, that's good enough. On to the next thing.
That was another one of the things that kind of stuck with me. One of the quotes from the movie, Algren, in his journal, he writes, and it's, a voiceover by Tom Cruise where he says they spend their whole lives perfecting whatever it is that they pursue.
There's a little montage while he's saying that too, and you see it there. It's just like this person's like ladling water, but the motion is all completely
Is
rehearsed.
well practiced.
And how they set the ladle is always exactly set down perfectly, with care. And it's like we would just pour the water and then drop the ladle in the cup. But no, they place the ladle, and the way that you place it is part of it too. Like every little thing is immaculate.
The care that is put into your day-to-day life is intentional.
Yes, everything is intentional.
Yeah.
It shows in their culture because that spills over into everything.
Right. That's part of what makes it so that I can kind of understand how he might have become so knowledgeable even after just one season.
Plus, it's a movie. You've got to move things along.
Well, I mean, yeah, besides that, but I mean, with as deliberately as everybody lives their lives, then, I mean, if he's observing that, like, and he sees how that works every day for all of those people,
yeah,
then it's really easy for him to really do that.
Well, and everything, I mean, even how they eat, is immaculate like that too. So if after a while of every single thing, even tying your shoes has to be done in a very specific and perfect way.
Right. Kind of a thing that I wanted to talk about. It's kind of come up a little bit more recently because of Shogun. There's a whole lot of stupid crap going around on Facebook and social media and all of that stuff about how disrespectful this movie is, how inaccurate it is about the Japanese culture and its history and all of that stuff. And that's something I kind of wanted to address. First off, this movie does not say based on a true story. Some people had kind of, that I have talked about this in the past with, have pointed out that it's inspired by true events. Inspired and based on are two completely different things.
Of course. And that's where that artistic license can kind of ruin a movie sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. I thought they did a really good job on this movie. Obviously not perfect. It's impossible to be right and make it palatable for, Western cultures to absorb.
It's not perfect historically because, first off, Algren didn't exist.
Oh, yeah.
The real Algren, like the person that inspired the character Algren, was French.
Oh, I didn't know that, but that's interesting.
It was a French soldier, and that story was completely different from this one. And so it's not that the various different things in this movie that are inspired by historical events, it's actually like 4 or 5 different things that happened in Japan's history at different times. Like they're not even all around the same time period. But they took little bits and pieces from each of those to make one cohesive story that had purpose. And the purpose was to show Japan in a way that had never been showed on film before. And that included its history and its people. But I mean, like I had said earlier, I had never seen the Japanese countryside because that's not a thing that's typically done in film.
Yeah, I'll be completely honest. I was very surprised. I didn't know Japan even had islands until I saw this movie. I was like, what? There's islands there?
Yeah.
Or there's mountains there?
Yep. Five perfect drops fell back into the ocean, and those became the islands of Japan. Yeah. And Fuji, Mount Fuji.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
I should have known that,
but yeah, I mean, beautiful countryside up there. That's actually where the like Kobe beef.
Oh yeah.
That's in the mountains.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the province where they make Kobe beef is up in the mountains and everything. But no, like a lot of people had spouted a lot of ill in the last few months after Shogun came out about like the white savior stereotype and all of that stuff. And it's like even Ken Watanabe had said that he didn't feel like it was perpetuating any kind of stereotype. He just thought that it was a really neat opportunity to show Japan in a different way. That was 20 years after the movie was made. In 2023, he said that no, I still stand behind that movie. So,
and he should. I mean, it was good. I still think this movie holds up very well.
Yeah.
I mean, I just rewatched it a few days ago in preparation for this, but yeah, I mean, the cinematography, the music, especially, I had to remind myself like to try and pay attention to certain things because like the music does such a good job of bringing you into the scenes. You forget that it's
Right.
even there, and that's always the best thing is when a movie lets you forget that you're watching a movie.
Right. I don't know. I couldn't get enough of this movie when it came out.
Yeah, this is the movie that got me introduced to Japanese culture and got me, very, very interested into it.
Well, this movie was the reason why, as far as home decor goes, most of the time I do lots of nerdy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't until this movie that I figured out that the most calming and probably wholesome way for me, mental health wise,
mm-hmm.
the best way for me to decorate an area for that is in the traditional Japanese style with those natural woods and the papers, the earth colors and things like that.
They figured it out, man.
and I found that really helped with my mental health at one point. And that's kind of why I was able to talk Jen into letting us do our bedroom in the Japanese traditional Japanese decor. I mean, where's a better place to have a calming calming scenery than the place where you sleep? So
right.
But anyway, we got about 15 minutes here. Tell me about any medicinal parts for you. What was your active ingredient in this movie?
So, I mean, there's a few. One thing that really gets me in this movie is the whole idea that he's a broken man. He's lost his purpose and he's refinding a new one. He falls in love with them and he wants to fight for their cause. And I really think that there's something to that. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I've been kind of trying to figure out some more of a purpose in my life, and I really related to that of that feeling of loss, and then he finds something that feels real and important and makes him feel as though he wants to be alive again. And I really thought that was very impactful. And once he finds that family, it's like he's willing to fight for it. He's
Right.
become one of them, and it's important to him as well.
Yeah.
Other than that, the other thing is just the sense of honor and respect and dignity that these people carry. It's much that Bushido code. Yeah, I really think that's kind of the two main points is just the Japanese culture and just the idea that you need purpose in life.
Right.
And Katsumoto really talks about that too, because he becomes a broken man too when he feels betrayed by his emperor, but he would still lay down his life for the emperor if he asked for it. It's
If
not
he
his
simply
life.
asked.
Yeah, it's not his life; it's the emperor's.
Right.
And Algren struggles with that for a moment. He's and I don't know that he ever comes around to that idea, but it's one of them in there that he's really trying to figure out, and he's trying to figure out how he fits into this world. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. Having a sense of purpose, I think, is important for anybody, no matter the culture, honestly. And I think that's something that nobody ever really thinks about for themselves, or even for other people, is to think about purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've noticed that among the people that I know, the people who are either searching for that purpose or have found it and are pursuing it, those tend to be the ones. Those tend to be the ones that seem to have their life figured out.
Yeah, I see that too.
It seems like a regular, like, well, of course they do, because that's the whole point. But it's like, but those are the people who I feel like the people who have found their purpose, or our friends who are looking for that purpose. I feel like those are the people who we generally go to when we need some kind of support.
Yeah, they become our rocks when we're in the, broken, when we're in the breakers. We're trying to cling on to something. We need the stability, and we need a sense of purpose. Everybody does. Yeah.
Right. The honor thing, I think, is also another big important thing, because I mean, I guess I don't even know what the official definition of honor is. Honor, noun, a good name or public esteem, a showing of usually merited respect, a person of superior standing, now used especially as a title for a holder of a high office, one whose worth brings respect or fame. I mean, those are, I can't really agree that that's what honor is. I mean, even though those are officially,
that's the dictionary, but
none of these really even get close to what it feels like honor really is.
That's what I was just gonna say. Is it's more of a feeling. It is a hard thing to describe, but you know it when you see it. And this movie exemplifies it. It doesn't try to tell you. It just shows you, or at least it shows you the Japanese ideal of honor.
Right. It's kind of funny because, like, what this is marries the two things that I had talked about earlier in the A Few Good Men episode, where Jamie and I talked about, following orders and doing the right thing to do. I kind of feel like that honor is a marriage of those two things.
Yeah.
That it's doing what you're supposed to do while also doing the right thing to do.
Yep. That's like the classic argument of the Germans during World War II. The German army, they weren't the bad guys. They were just following orders. I'm going to judge you for the orders that you follow just as harshly as the orders you refuse.
Right.
End of story. Like that's how that is. If you followed an order to massacre civilians, you're scum. End of story. So is the guy that issued it, but you're still scum.
Yeah, I think I really do feel like that honor is just a marriage of those two things. What's right and what's expected.
Yeah. I finally remembered what I was trying to think of earlier, but we were talking about the sense of purpose. I'm derailing and going back here for just a moment here, but what I was thinking of was that one thing I had heard recently, and it really resounded within me, is the happiest that you can be. Well, the happiest that most people are is when they are on the path to completing a goal. Right. So you have a goal, but one of the best feelings is when you're not done with that goal. You're working on it, and you can see the progress that you've made. That is one of the best feelings that people can get. And if you don't have that, you really need to find that. You need to be working towards it. You need to go on a sense of a journey to find it. If that isn't where you're at right now, you either need the goal or you need to be in the goal.
Right. I mean, that's very true. I mean, when you think back on any of those things that you have done, big projects with other people and things like that, it's the leading up to the end of it, like that you really start to get that feeling of triumph
Yeah.
And then once it's done, it's almost a letdown.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
My dad, I think he had a bit of a problem with that, and I don't know that he ever got a chance to really explore that, because he was notorious for starting projects and then having a hard time always finishing. He always did, but something like we did an extension onto our house when I was a kid growing up. And we got it all sealed in, like the concrete was poured, like it was sealed in like 2 weeks. Like it went from being just like, lines on the dirt in the backyard to being walls with insulation and drywall in like 2 weeks. But then it took like almost a year to get like the flooring done and the carpet and the fireplace set up. Like we got it sealed in so that the weather wasn't gonna knock the house down.
right.
But to finish the job took more, and I think it was subconsciously. I unfortunately, my father's not with us anymore to ask him, but I think part of it was he was getting that dopamine kick by being, getting to see, we got it, the walls up, we got this, as long as the job isn't done, you still get that dopamine. You still,
right. Until you become the bad guy, like, because you're leaving all that stuff, undone.
And eventually my mom, would get after him, or the dopamine would reside and he would do more. And,
right.
But there's more to it than that. My dad worked like 12-hour days, 6 days a week,
Crazy.
Yeah. He was a very busy guy. He didn't always have enough time at home.
Right. The active ingredient for me in this movie was, it kind of came at a more unexpected point. Honestly, it didn't really have anything to do with the Japanese culture. It didn't have anything to do with Japan or anything like that. But it's more about the end of the movie when they're in that final battle with the Japanese army and the samurai.
Literally, so swords and arrows versus rifles and Gatling rifles and cannons.
Right. When the last of the samurai ride on horseback. To their death.
Yeah, into Gatling gunfire.
The part that always got me was when they knocked Katsumoto and Algren off their horses. Algren is crawling towards Katsumoto. Katsumoto's reaching for his sword, and he grabs it. He grabs the hilt of his sword, and Algren stops him and says, "Don't." And he says, "You have found your honor. Let me die with mine."
Yeah.
And that's when Algren helps him seppuku. Earlier in the movie, Algren had just walked in to have a conversation with Katsumoto. And Katsumoto had said, "The perfect blossom is a rare thing. You can search your whole life for one, and it would not be a wasted life."
Yeah. Yep.
As he was looking at the tree blossoms. And just as Algren was helping him push the sword, he comes up over Algren's shoulder and looks off into the distance, and he sees cherry blossom trees and cherry blossoms flying through the air with all the grace that they do.
Just beautiful.
And then he says, "Perfect." They are all perfect. And it made me think about people.
Yeah. Rather
than cherry blossoms or plants or whatever. Like all of us feel like we have some kind of flaws. And yeah, sometimes some of them are destructive and whatever, but in our own ways, we are all perfect as long as we're true to ourselves. And that's where this movie got me.
Yeah, that is a very beautiful moment. Yeah. I mean, especially with the imagery of the floating cherry blossoms.
Right. So, yeah, that was the active ingredient for me, was that we are all perfect.
That is a beautiful sentiment to leave that on. Like, truly, like, oh man.
Well, it was nice having you on the show again, and we'll I'm sure we'll have you back on. And we have a whole list of movies that you and I are supposed to do. So, if you've got a movie that's been medicine for you, or you want to be on the show, you can send me an email at contact@movie-rx.com. If anxiety is what keeps you from getting on the show, you can write me a couple of paragraphs and send it in an email. I can read them on air. Remember, this movie is not intended to treat, cure, or prevent any disease. And we'll see you in the next appointment.
Bye, everyone.
No.